Welcome to Showdown. I'm Mark Kaysen, and it's Wednesday, September the 18th, which is kind of an interesting date, and I'll tell you why. Because on September the 25th, the Mar-a-Lago documents case was supposed to go to the 11th District to figure out what they were going to do about Aileen Cannon being a hack. Now, that isn't what they're saying, but that's what I'm saying. But anyway, it was September 25th, and it's now been moved to October 25th. And the only reason that that's an interesting fact is because, as usual, and not that I didn't know this, I said it clearly, but Donald's such a liar. He's just a liar. It's all he does is lie. Because you'll remember what he said was that he won the entire documents case, that he won. And we know, of course, that he didn't win. I pointed out at the time that it was all going to the 11th District, where they would probably, for the third time, kick Aileen Cannon's butt, and they'd probably remove her from the case. Well, what happened, and see, Donald's going to claim this is a win too. It's not a win. It's not even close to a win. What happened is, instead of September 25th, Donald's people asked if they could move it to October the 25th. And the court said, sure you can. So they moved it to October 25th. This case was never going to be heard before the election at this point anyway, because Donald's people got their hack, Aileen Cannon, to do whatever they wanted. So it got moved. It all got delayed. They played games with this case. All that's fine. But the moving of the case in the district court from September 25th to October 25th also included the fact that the prosecutor said, Jack Smith, he said, sure, move it. No problem. No objection to that. Well, of course not, because there's no sense in worrying about anything. Just, let the case happen, because it is not going to come before the election. It would be good if it could, but it can't. So it won't. Okay. I just want to get that lie out of the way, because, as you know, all Donald can do is lie. It's just what he does. Now, a couple of other things which I didn't see yesterday because I was in the other room where we were broadcasting. And so I didn't notice a couple of questions. So let's answer a couple of questions first. One question, I wonder if a racist can tell the difference between Haitians and African Americans. Well, the answer is no, of course not. A black is a black. They don't care if you're black. End of story. No, they don't know, and they don't care. And Donald certainly doesn't care. And, the fact is that the Haitians are black and African Americans, okay, or black people, whatever you want to use as the term. But the answer is no. They can't tell the difference. In fact, they not only don't know the difference, they want to blur the difference. That's the whole purpose. Okay, so let's get rid of that one. The next thing, broadcast is waiting for video signal. I don't even know what that means. Okay. Let's see. Oh, what do you think about Lucas Kuntz in the Senate race? Well, I read a poll today And the poll says that everybody statewide is getting slaughtered in this election, which that's the way it is in Missouri. I mean, Democrats don't get any votes, except the abortion case is 58% in favor of killing Missouri's abortion law. 58. Now, last night, when we talked to Ray Hartman, he said, maybe it would be 54, 55 in Missouri because some of these other states were 58, 59. But anyway, at the moment, it appears that Missouri is just like Kentucky, just like Oklahoma, just like Kansas. 58. That's where it is. Now, these are all very right-wing states, but none of them want to maintain this crazy abortion policy. They want Roe v. Wade back. And it's so funny because, again, not that we didn't know, but what a liar Donald is. Because he keeps saying that everybody in the country wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade. Well, everybody in the country except for 58% of the people, including in Missouri. Honestly, if Missouri has 58% of the people who support Roe v. Wade, then you tell me what this is like nationwide. Donald's just a liar. That's all he is. He just lies. And it's not like we hate him because he's a liar. Well, you shouldn't hate him. I'm sure some people do. They shouldn't. First, pity him. Really. That's the first thing. Pity him. He's a mess. And the second thing is, he's a liar. I mean, it's just a fact. It's not like we hate you, you're a liar. It's, hey, that's what you do. That's what Donald Trump does. He lies. He's supposed to lie. He lies in the morning. He lies at night. He lies. It's what he does. Every word. Never heard of the people at Project 2025. Well, he knows them all. They all worked for him. He picked them. He appointed them. And then he sent them over to the Heritage Foundation to do his work over there on 2025. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be implemented. It's just crazy talk. So, yeah, Donald lies. What else does Donald lie about? I mean, I've identified probably 100 of his lies in the last couple of months alone. But, there are a couple other things hanging around here that are worth talking about. Let's try one of my favorite subjects, DJT. And I'm not talking about Donald J. Trump, I'm talking about the symbol for his company, if you can call it a company. He had like $3 million in revenue at that stupid company. $3 million. That's like nothing. I mean, you open the door anywhere to a public company and you're going to get $3 million. It's going to just float in. But at any rate, $3 million, and he lost his butt. He just got killed. He loses everything. Donald Trump, everything he touches is a loser. However, there was a guy making the rounds this morning talking about Donald's net worth. And his net worth, first of all, is almost all his stock, which at the moment, about $1.7 billion. And get this is so funny. He's such a liar. 2 days ago, he said, I will not sell my stock. And when he said he wouldn't sell it, the stock jumped $4 per share. Now, immediately after jumping $4 per share, the stock gave back up $3 a share. And then yesterday, it gave up the rest of it. And now that thing is down to 15. I have said all along, and here we are at the 18th, he's only got 2 days left. If he says he's going to sell it on the 20th, they're going to massacre whatever's left in the price. Because that's the one thing that people feared, that he would dump 57% of the company on the market and depress that thing to zero. And that's why he lied and said he wouldn't do it. But see, Donald is so stupid. He just doesn't even know what he's doing. He is an insider in this company. And if you're an insider, you can't lie to the public. He said, I won't sell the stock, ran it up $4 a share, and then it dropped immediately $3 a share. I mean, people lost money everywhere. Well, those people now are getting ready to sue him because he's backing away from the whole story. He might sell. Who knows? He could, he might not, he would, he should. I mean, you can't get anything out of him. But if he does try to sell that stock, they'll massacre it because you can't just sell it. You got to register and say, I'm selling it. And then by the time that's done, it'll be zero. Who would buy that thing? They don't do any business. It's nothing. But hey, it's right now it's worth like $1.7 billion to Donald if he could only get his hands on it. And I guarantee you, he's desperate to get his hands on it. Really, he is. He wants that money. He wants that money. Believe me, he does. Well, at any rate, he's not going to get it. And he'll be lucky if he gets $100 million, which is still, as they say, not chopped liver. That's true. But it's a whole far distance from 10 billion, which is what he had one day until everything caved in and just kept caving in and will keep caving in because Donald's a loser. I mean, anybody that doesn't know that, he loses every election. He loses, all of his businesses are losers. Mark Burnett's business wasn't a loser. The Apprentice was a winner. But it wasn't Trump's. It was Burnett's. Burnett paid him as an employee, essentially, to fire people and to pretend that he was some kind of a business genius, when instead we know that he's just a 100% plain loser. Okay, so that's the end of Donald Trump and his ridiculous company that shouldn't even be called a company. And honestly, it won't be around that long. After he is blown out of this election, he'll shut the whole thing down and walk away unless somebody will like give him some money. Yeah, if somebody will pay him $50, he'll stick around until that money runs out. I mean, it's just stupidity. Okay, so let me go back to this question about Lucas Kunce running for the Senate. That's a statewide race, and all the statewide races are sort of a bust because this is Missouri. Now, as far as the value of Lucas Kunce, here's the deal. Of course, he's 1,000 times better than any Republican. So there's not even a debate about that for me. Now, I will say that I'm not in love with him. I hear what he's got to say. Not that impressive. Slightly to the middle left, like so slight that you could barely tell. You would say, dead in the middle, right in the middle. Doesn't matter. I've said a million times that in the case of Donald, I'd vote for a ham sandwich before I'd vote for him. And I'd vote for any Democrat over Josh Hawley. I mean, that's not even a discussion. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people here in Missouri who are actually Republicans who remember the picture of Josh Hawley running as fast as he could to get out of that Capitol, where, of course, he and Donald claimed that people were just on a vacation. Yeah, they were just like tourists on a vacation. They were down there to visit. I mean, they had nothing to do with that hanging platform, the noose, all that business, hang Mike Pence. Yeah, they get out of here. Donald's people hang Mike Pence? No. Mike Pence is a conservative. Mike Pence is a friend of Trump's. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, Trump would hang a friend. He'd hang anybody. For a dime, he'd hang him. But at any rate, Mike Pence is paying him back a little bit right now, because Mike Pence is explaining why you'd have to be crazy to vote for Donald Trump. Absolutely unfit for the office. Military people, all Republicans, have signed papers saying that Donald Trump is unfit for this office. Republicans and, right-wing kooks, even right-wing kooks. John Bolton can't be much more of a right-wing kook than him, and he says the man's unfit. And of course, we know that other people have said too, well-known names. The only people who haven't done it, I think Mad Dog, whatever his name is, didn't do it. And the other couple of those generals who worked as chief of staff did not do it. Now, they don't like Trump, and they say it, but they haven't come down one way or the other, because they say that they have no willingness to participate in any kind of political business. And the reason they say is because they're retired generals and they shouldn't do that. And well, it's stupid anyway for them to say it, because they've already done it. When they went to work for Donald in the first place, they gave up their military position and they entered politics. Now they're running away from politics. Okay, well, that's fine. But they don't support Trump, that's for sure. They just haven't endorsed him yet. So many things flying around here right now, things that are killing Trump in every direction that he turns. For example, this morning, they're back attacking women without kids again. How could they be so crazy? Now, I'll grant you it's coming from Trump's associate, Laura Loomer, who is just horrified over the fact that these women don't have children, and therefore, they don't understand anything. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders is also in on this. Same thing. She was touting this whole story last night. in some ways even worse than Loomer and the rest of them. But they're not afraid. They throw this stuff out there, and they won't run from any of it, which is nice. It's good they confess. We talked about the confessions yesterday. All of these people confess. It's just what they do. Donald gets in front of the camera, immediately starts confessing. Then when you call him on it, he denies that he ever said it, and he says he never heard of it, and he doesn't know what you're talking about. That whole story. All the time. It's a 100% lie. But the great thing is the people in the United States of America know that this is a lie. They're not going for this anymore. There's a reason that Kamala's numbers are through the roof. And don't get me wrong, Kamala's no slouch. Kamala's good. In fact, she's better than good. She is an exciting candidate. She is brilliant. She is a genius the way she's playing this whole thing. And I know this is not just the people that she's got working for her. I mean, she has developed so much of this. She's just brilliant. And the result is apparent. Her numbers just keep going up. And Donald's support keeps dropping. And the thing about it is there's like 48 days left. And here's the problem. 48 days, like everybody says, that's a lifetime. And the problem with this 48-day lifetime, they're all saying it like, well, Kamala looks good now, but who knows what she's going to look like in 48 days. So let me turn that around on them and everybody and say, Donald is caving in right now. Imagine where he could be in 48 days. He could be in jail because who knows what he's going to do. You know, October 10th is just an incredibly important date because on October 10th, there's going to be a trial in Georgia. And that trial in Georgia is going to reveal what the Republicans are doing to try to decertify all of the electoral results in order to prevent Donald from losing. It's not going to work. It doesn't have a possibility of working. I know they saw what happened the last time this went on, back in 1876. They saw what happened with Rutherford B. Hayes, and they think that it might be an open door for them. But I have to tell you something. It's not an open door for any of them. The door is shut. And you know what? Joe Biden shut that door on these people. Now, you know that everybody says that Joe Biden was tossed out. Joe Biden wasn't tossed out. Joe Biden is revered in the Democratic Party. Everybody knows that he's got some limitations now. The man's 82 years old. Now, everybody at 82 isn't struggling like him. I've said over and over that Stephen Breyer is 85. And he's doing great. So you could be good at 82. John Paul Stevens was a terror on the Supreme Court at 91. So was Thurgood Marshall, for that matter. So the point is, you could be 80, you could be 90, but you also have to look at reality. And the reality was that Joe Biden was struggling with his words. And given the fact that he was struggling with his words, it was time to move on to Kamala, who is so clear. When you listen to her, I mean, you think about what she's saying. It is so clear. She's tough. She knows what she's doing, and she's getting it done, and the numbers reflect it. End of story. Here's one for you. I mean, there's so many good ones today. I can't believe it. Trump was talking about his rallies because, he's totally bent out of shape because Kamala said that people leave early because they're bored. And Donald, as we all say, took the bait at the debate. He couldn't restrain himself. I remember the day before the debate, we said that he could not contain himself. I made a whole big thing about containment and George Kennan and all of that. So I sort of made a little joke out of it. But you know what? The next day, he could not contain himself. But it's worse than that by far. He can't contain himself now. Yesterday, he was telling people, his people, several different things. First, he said, "You're not going to leave my rally." Yeah, what are you going to do? Tie him up? No, but he said it that way. It was like, if I tell you you're not leaving, you're not leaving. So that's one delusion. Another delusion is that, well, first he says that people want to stay at his rallies anyway. But he says that actually, if he sees you trying to leave, that he's going to be right up in front of you on the stage telling you, "I don't need you. Get the hell out." What is this? I mean, is this guy running for president and trying to get votes? Or is he like trying to reprise the old funny days of Jackie Mason on Broadway? Jackie Mason was very funny on Broadway, and he was pretty mean. He could be mean and funny. The funniness came from the meanness. It was very clever. Anyway, I can just tell you, Donald Trump ain't no Jackie Mason. He's not even that funny. But it is funny that he's crazy. That's funny. It's funny that he thinks that he can win this election. That's funny. This guy hasn't got a chance. Not a chance. The things he's saying are outrageously insane. Don't worry. There's more. But, it's just funny that he is so out of touch with his own life. I mean, all these things are happening to him. He's a rapist. And that, I say that to everybody. I say, how can you tell me that you would vote for a rapist? They say, well, they didn't find him to be a rapist. Well, actually, the judge said that the jury did find him to be a rapist. That's what the judge said. So I don't know. I mean, there may be some other word that you can replace it with, or, I know they want to say, this is funny. They want to say it's nothing but sexual abuse. Oh, it's only sexual abuse. It's not rape. And I've said before, don't come on the air here. In other words, if I open up the phone lines, don't come on the air and start thinking that we're going to have an argument over the difference between sexual abuse and rape, because we're not going to do it. I just wouldn't even have the conversation with anybody on the air. It's pathetic. The man is a rapist. And listen, whatever he is, if he's not a rapist, he's got to pay $90 million for it. So sounds to me like he's something. Sounds like a rapist. So that's $90 million. Now let's not forget, $450 million, which is really $525 million when you add in the interest. So it's over $500 million. And he owes that to the state of New York because he couldn't stop lying. He couldn't stop lying. His place in which he lives is 100 times more valuable than, I don't know, the cheese on the moon. The guy's sick. He is perfectly sick. So I don't even know what more to say on that score, except for the fact that he's lying. That's all he does. And my favorite thing about Donald is that he's one of the most reliable people on the planet. Because as soon as he opens his mouth, all you got to say is he's lying. And you know what? Every time you're right. Because that's all he does is he lies. That's all he knows how to do. He lies. I guess he's not talking about Nicole Amber Thurman. So he's not lying about her, at least not that I know of. But he's lying when he says he doesn't know anything about the consequences of Roe v. Wade being overturned, because it's not about abortion. Don't even say the word. I am not sitting here saying that anybody should have an abortion. That would be ridiculous. I don't want anybody to have an abortion, and no one wants one. And I certainly am not supporting people to go out and get abortions. That's ridiculous. However, what I do want to comment on is what happened to Nicole Amber Thurman. And I've said this, and I said it yesterday. When a woman has her water break at 20 weeks, and it happens far too much, when that happens, if you don't get her into the doctor's office, she's going to die. You have opened up a sterile area of her body that will kill her. So you got to get her into the doctor fast. The problem is the doctors don't want to see these people, even though they want to be doctors. I mean, they want to take care of people. They're not bad all of a sudden. They don't like hate their patients, but they don't want to go to jail. And in states all over the country, including Missouri, if you try to provide medical care for women who are going through miscarriages, you go to jail because you'll be accused of things that you haven't even done. And then you'll go to jail. And that's why 58% of the people in the state of Missouri are against that bill that was passed that restricts abortions in Missouri. These are not people who want abortions. Not at all. They don't want one. I don't want them. Nobody wants them. Hillary didn't want them. Bill Clinton didn't want people to get abortions. Nobody wants it. But they all want women to have medical care. And if you're pregnant and you don't get medical care on time, you can die. Nicole Amber Thurman, in August of 2022, died for exactly this reason. Dead. She's got a young child, and she's dead. She's not coming back. And who killed her? Donald killed her. Of course he did. Donald killed her, as did all of these other people out here, Supreme Court justices who said that they would not oppose the idea, or I'm sorry, that they would not advocate for the idea of overturning Roe v. Wade, that they would not do it. They said it's, stare decisis. We're not going to get rid of something like this. It's a precedent. We're not going to do that. They lied. They flat out lied. Gee, what a surprise. Okay, so they lied. So they lied and they killed Nicole Amber Thurman, who was not trying to get an abortion. She was just trying to survive her miscarriage. And she died. And of course, they've done investigations now, and they found that, in fact, she didn't need to die. It was preventable. Nobody wanted an abortion. She just wanted health care. She wanted to be taken care of. She didn't want to sit there while the infection spread through her entire body and then shut down all of her organs and killed her because the doctors were afraid. They knew what to do. They were scared because, in Missouri and other places as well, where this took place was Georgia. You don't go to jail for a minute or an hour or a week. This is not a slap on the wrist. You can go to jail for life. You can certainly go to jail for 10, 15, 20 years. And for some of these people, that would be life. This is beyond insanity. Killing women. For what? For Donald Trump to run around and say, I did something? Which, frankly, he opposed before he supported it, and now opposes again. Except for now, again, he supports it. I mean, back and forth. This is not a matter of flip-flopping. It's a matter of running away from a murder charge. He knows what he's discussing here. He knows what women think, and he's doing everything he can to stop this exodus of women from his campaign. And it's an exodus, okay? They're not playing, they're leaving. So, sure, Donald Trump's out here lying, but sometimes those lies can have consequences. In the case of Donald 2024, the consequences are enormous. If you're a woman and you're trying to get help, well, I can tell you this. You're in trouble because you're not going to get help for anything. They are out to get you. And that's why 58% of the women or the people in Missouri are voting to wipe out that Missouri abortion law. They don't want it. They don't want abortions. That's not it. They just don't want women to die. You know that in America, Black women are 3 times more likely to die in pregnancy than white ones. 3 times. In Missouri, it's 4 times. And actually, the Missouri legislators have recognized it and said they want to put some money to the problem, but then they didn't do it. This state has an enormous problem, but we're going to fix it because there are voters coming 48 days. Yesterday was 7 weeks. Today is 48 days until the election. And you know, there's early voting that starts even before then by far. Donald is sunk. But let me tell you where you can never go wrong. And that's when you go to dinner at Wendy's. Wendy's is at 18,000 Chesterfield Airport Road in the Chesterfield Valley. And they've got unbelievably great food. I mean, it's really tops. They've got wings. They've got smoked meat. They've got patty melts, cheeseburgers, hamburgers, salads, great drinks, pizza. And they've got everything. I mean, Wendy's is no joke. It is a very excellent restaurant, and you can't go wrong eating there. Ray and I talked about it last night. Ray went there and got some of those ribs, and he's been talking about it with me ever since. And plus, he was really surprised when he found out that you can go all the way down the road to Defiance, Missouri, and then you're still going to be at Wendy's. Can't get away from Wendy's. The food is great. The people are fabulous. You'll love Wendy's. Now, if you're looking for jewelry, of course you go to 4506 Hampton, and you'll find Al and AJ and a whole staff full of great people all standing around looking at all that tremendous jewelry in the cases. Cases and cases and cases of jewelry. I mean, you got to protect the store, of course, because you don't want anybody coming in and grabbing all that stuff, but it's really great. It's just a terrific place to visit. The workers there, every time I go, they end up talking to me. We never can even get out because it's just so much fun. And you can go and talk to Al and AJ and the whole group. Look at their cases filled with jewelry. And then on top of that, you can buy and sell coins and jewelry with Al. And then spend a lot of time there. You look through the cases. You talk to the people. It's really so much fun. But it takes so long that by the time you leave, your watch might be broken. You know, those things don't work forever. So anyway, you just take it to Al and he'll fix it. He'll get it fixed right away. They are expert watch repair people. They're expert in everything having to do with jewelry. It is a terrific place to go because it's Jewels on Hampton. Now, when it comes to clothing, men's clothing, you cannot beat it at the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton on the corner of Forsyth and Central, where they have been for 30 years. That's 1994 they've been there. 1994. It's a long time ago. It's 2 years after we elected Bill Clinton. And all the way since then, 30 years they've been there, doing a great job, selling terrific suits, and the ties are unbelievable. I mean, every day it's the same thing. You know, I could wear a different tie every day. That's how many ties I've got. Well, at $5 a tie, 360 days in a year, I mean, come on, that's 1,600 ties. Yeah, I've got that easy. It's a great place to shop, and you'll definitely be thinking about an overcoat. If you're not thinking about it now because of that hot weather out there, I promise you'll be thinking about it soon. I felt that cool air this morning. Just a little bit of an advertisement, but it's coming. That's the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton. And don't forget, when it comes to wedding attire, again, they're the top people in town with wedding attire. I sit there all the time with Jay and Nick, and we talk, and in walk the people. I've got a wedding. I've got a wedding. I've got a wedding. Yeah, over and over. They all have weddings. Well, you can take care of those weddings at the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton. Okay. So we talked about the fact that Trump is now threatening the people who go to his rallies, that if you leave, well, he doesn't know what he's going to do to you, but he's telling you don't leave. And then on top of that, if you do leave, well, just, one minor thing, he's going to tell you to get the hell out. Isn't that nice? Tell your people, get the hell out of here if you can't stay. He's a crazy man. Not in a good way. Not in a good way. It's very ill. Let's talk about some of his obvious illnesses. Let's go to the dogs and cats in Springfield, Ohio. I'll tell you, I'm going to be sorry when Donald loses, because I sort of like talking about the dogs and cats, and there won't be any reason to talk about them once Donald's gone. But, yeah, the dogs and cats, yeah, they're running okay. They're running because they know Donald's coming. Well, Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, he says, first of all, that these Haitians have been there for some time, like 3 or so years. This is not a new deal with the Haitians that all of a sudden they're eating dogs and cats. And like he said, they never ate any dogs or cats, and they are good people, and they've been really a positive force in Springfield, Ohio. I mean, this is a Republican governor. DeWine is not some kind of radical. He's a conservative. And he's not voting for Trump. None of these people are. But at any rate, he says, forget it. No one's eating the dogs and cats. Your pets will be safe in Ohio. The fact that he even has to say that is beyond insane. But here is what is a problem. People in Ohio are being threatened every single day. And it's not 1, and it's not 5, and it's not 10. It's just gigantically increasing numbers of people who are being threatened. They're closing schools. They're closing hospitals. They're closing all kinds of public venues because right-wing, neo-Nazi, Donald Trump-loving crazy people are threatening to kill kids. And the sad part is, I believe they would kill some kids. Now, somebody else will say, well, no, it's just a threat. They're not doing anything. Well, you know what? We don't need to hear this. We shouldn't hear it. The Haitians aren't doing anything in Ohio except for working. And they work very, very hard. They are good people. They came from Haiti. They were forced out by gangs that were threatening to kill them there. Those gangs aren't leaving Haiti to come here. They're throwing the people out of Haiti. No, Donald lies. You know he lies. So all he does is lie. Threats against schools, he says it doesn't happen. Or if it does happen, guess who it is? Antifa. Black Lives Matter. Sure. You go to that story again. No, that's why no one's voting for him. His numbers are collapsing. I know. Kamala doesn't like to say it. And last night, Ray Hartman didn't want to say it, but I'm saying it. I'm not running for anything, and I can say it. And it's true. Donald is collapsing. 30 threats a week in Ohio, in Springfield, Ohio. 30 threats a week. 10-year-olds can't go back to school right now. They keep trying, but every day they're bombarded with new threats. They can't take the chance. What does Donald care? First of all, I don't think he'd care if it were his own family. I don't know if he'd care if it's him. At this point, I think he knows how much trouble he's in. And I've always said that he's a dangerous guy. I'd put him on suicide watch. I'd do that right away. I think he's a scary person. Anyway, Mike DeWine says none of this is happening in Ohio. So we know Donald hates foreigners. He hates Muslims. He hates Mexicans. He hates Haitians. He says they come from S-hole countries, all that business. No, he's a very sick man. However, sicker than you'd think, because he and his people have a new program. Actually, I want to be fair. Really, I want to be fair to Donald. It's not a new program. It's an old program that he started that he now wants to, and listen to his words, he wants to supercharge it. That's his words. Actually, Stephen Miller said it, but coming from Donald almost directly, Stephen Miller says they are going to turbocharge this mass deportation that will include naturalized American citizens. And they're going to denaturalize them. Now, people say there's probably, 11, 12 million illegal, undocumented workers at the border. Let's say Donald's right. Let's say 12, 13 million. So there's also another 25 million people who have lived in the United States, have become naturalized American citizens. They took an exam. They went through the classes. They took the test. They passed it. They are citizens. Donald wants to turbocharge the deportation of those people. He said it. Didn't say it once. Says it over and over again because he's serious. Wants to get rid of these people. If that's not enough, he's claiming that he's going to send Haitians back to Venezuela. Wait a second. What do you mean back to Venezuela? They're Haitians. Why wouldn't you send them to Haiti? Oh, no. We're to send them to Venezuela. Sounds better. The man's sick. There's nothing else to say about it. He's just sick. This denaturalization business is such bad business. I mean, aside from the fact that it exposes the United States as a country filled with hatred, aside from that, which is bad enough. But in addition, It takes these great people who are working so hard to be good American citizens to the point where they're not even doing anything. The crimes are being caused by people in America, born in America, native born in America. These are just regular people here who were born here. White. Well, sure, white. And they're committing the crimes. That's the numbers. That's the crimes. Now, you know, the people running for office really hesitate to say this. In fact, they're not. I understand why. They know the beating that they would take, and they know the beating that their families would take. They don't want to even deal with it. They want to just run, win, and take care of the country. But Donald doesn't want to allow it because Donald thinks that maybe he's going to lose. And if he's going to lose, he wants to take everybody down with him that he can possibly get his hands on. And so there are a few people out there that he can. He can get them into the mess, and he can have them deported and separated from their families. This is nothing that the people of the United States want to do. They don't want to do anything remotely like this. They want to go vote for Kamala Harris and end the chaos because, as Kamala says, we're not going back. We're not going back. I mean, there's just no doubt. There are people out here that they're going to vote, and they're not voting to go back. You know what else Kamala says? I know this must make conservatives crazy when they hear this, because she says, we're going to fight, because when we fight, we win. Oh, I know they hate this. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear, the we fight, we win business. They don't want to hear any of it. It really makes them sick. But it makes them sick because they've exposed themselves to one of the worst sicknesses on the planet. Donald J. Trump. He has destroyed everything he's ever touched. And now he's taking a $10 billion shell of a company, because it's not a company, but it's a shell, and it had $10 billion net worth. He's got it down to $1.8 billion. And in another day or two or five, this thing could be $100 million because he's getting slaughtered. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has never known what he's doing. All he can do is scream and yell and fuel threats against schools. Just really, he'll risk everything in the country. What does he care? Doesn't mean anything to him. Not a thing. Your family means nothing to him. One of my favorite lines is, it's true though, all these people who love Trump, I just say, let me take you. I'd like to see if we can go meet Trump, because when you go and meet him and you tell him that you're one of his greatest supporters, he'll spit in your eye. He just will. Just because he wants to. Okay, just a reminder, Wenty's, Jules on Hampton, the St. Louis Suit Company, all great companies right here with Showdown. And I'm Mark Kaysen. Good night.